Welcome to Inside Marketing with MarketSurge, your front row seat to the boldest ideas and smartest strategies in the marketing game. Your host is Reed Hansen, Chief Growth Officer at MarketSurge.
Welcome back to Inside Marketing with MarketSurge. I'm joined by somebody today who's redefining what it means to grow organically in an AI-driven world. Our guest today is Jan Watermann, SEO and content marketing expert, growth strategist, and co-founder of Pragmatic Business, where he helps digital marketers and small companies scale beyond short-term gigs and build systems that actually compound. Has been behind millions in organic growth, and what I love most about his work is how he blends traditional SEO discipline with a futuristic AI-powered lens, talking about Google's innovations, ChatGPT's innovations, and Perplexity. We're going to dig into what SEO looks like in 2025 and how Jan has taken Pragmatic Business into a company that has really been a force for good for many, many of its clients' businesses. Thanks for joining us, Jan.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me here, Reed. It's a pleasure. I actually listened to a few of your previous episodes and I really like them. I like the format. I think you're doing a great job here.
No, I really appreciate that. Well, Jan, tell us a little bit about how you got to where you are now, and also point out too that you are located in Panama City, Panama right now. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. And how I ended up here is a long story, to be honest. But let's get started. Definitely not the traditional way. So back when I was in school, I realized there was something different about me. Wasn't really interested in the traditional way, finish up school, then go ahead and study, find a corporate job. That just wasn't me. My stomach hurt just imagining that. And I decided when I was still underage, I believe I was 17 years old, decided to leave school at that point. Wow. That was back in middle school, and decided to move abroad. Basically, booked a one-way ticket to New Zealand because that was literally the furthest way I could go from Germany back then. It's literally on the other side of the world. There's a web app that shows you I believe it's called Antidote, but I'm not exactly sure what's exactly on the other side. And that was New Zealand, and my slightly childish mind thought, okay, let's go to New Zealand, let's escape to New Zealand, because that was so far away. And obviously I wasn't prepared at all, right? No savings, barely any skill. So I booked this one-way ticket, headed there, and realized, oh damn, life is expensive, and it really takes some effort to survive even. And so I was looking for jobs, tried to make money as fast as I could, and ended up literally feeding chickens on a farm. That was one of my first jobs. Did some other crazy stuff, palm pruning, also furniture moving, things I would not recommend as a career choice. But yeah, it had to be done, and that's what I did. And yeah, basically, it sucked, right? But at the same time, I said to myself that I didn't want to go back to Germany and then rejoin this traditional career path because that just wasn't for me. So I looked at ways to make money online and just asked myself, what are my skills? What can I do to monetize them? And yeah, when you're just coming out of school, or not even, when you're literally, exiting early, you don't have many hard skills. So I looked at what was available. Design, yeah, not at all, because I was really bad in art classes. I'm also not good in maths, so programming wasn't good for me. And essentially, yeah, the lowest hanging fruit was something that had to do with writing, because my German skills were pretty good. So I started working as a copywriter. It was literally my first online job. I tried to acquire clients, which was a challenge on its own if you don't have any references, but volume makes success in that case. So literally reached out to hundreds of people, and through copywriting, and I then got into other marketing fields. I was really fascinated by psychology, the psychology behind copywriting, landing page copy, and these kind of things. And that really helped me level up into these other fields of marketing. And now I ended up being SEO consultant, SEO expert. And yeah, how I got there was kind of random.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's very unusual. You really embarked on quite an adventure, and I think that's really impressive that you've arrived here. I think there's some takeaways too. Now, first of all, when you're confronted with, you're in a foreign country, maybe that's not your native language, and you have limited skill set, and you're trying different things. How do you think that's instructive about what kind of skills a professional can teach him or herself Do you think that that's a doable task for most people, that they could pick up skills teaching themselves?
I think so, totally. And honestly, just start by looking at what you like, right? And I think that's how you easily find a niche that you can also make work profitably.
Yeah.
So I was fascinated, as I explained, I was fascinated about psychology, and I was good in writing.
Yeah.
So becoming a copywriter was the most natural thing to do for me. And once I made that decision, I then asked myself how to monetize that skill and how to acquire clients.
Yeah. Now, from where you stand today, would you have done anything differently? Like, do you wish you had made different choices? Or, I mean, it sounds like you're doing very well.
Yeah, not at all. I think I made just the right choices. I took a lot of risk really early, right? Because leaving school without any savings, I literally had about $3,000 converted from euros on my bank account back then when I moved abroad. In New Zealand, it's a very expensive country that barely lasts for 2 weeks mostly. Maybe a month you can make work if you live a simple lifestyle. But it was a lot of risk early, but definitely paid off in the long run.
Wow. Well, okay, so let's talk a little bit about one of your fields of expertise, SEO. I love the topic. I think it's really interesting. In some ways, it's kind of a game. Some ways, it's science. Some ways, it's an art. But your tagline on LinkedIn says, "Think SEO is dead?" ? So I wanted to start there. Do you think SEO is dead, or do you think that we are in a process of adjusting to a new code, like a new process?
Definitely don't believe SEO is dead. Quite the opposite. I believe SEO is more relevant than ever right now. It's just that the methods to make SEO work have changed. So what's most relevant now is making content as relevant as possible to the audience. I think that's what it comes down to if you would simplify it. So it has some sort of art character. I get that, because often it can't be explained in a scientific way. What makes things really relevant. You just have to logically ask yourself, okay, what is this reader actually looking for? What is the information they want to read? And then just try to provide it as efficient as possible. That's what makes content rank nowadays, right? There are also other factors, especially if you think about artificial intelligence, tools like GPT, Perplexity, Claude, etc. In order to rank successfully there, I think what's really relevant is digital PR. Having as much trust as possible, telling the machine basically that you're a trusted source. So that's what has shifted quite a bit in the past few years.
Yeah. Well, okay. So I'd love to build on this, your interest in psychology as well. So, as you mentioned, that's one of the and now tell us about, obviously there's a lot that has been changing in our world in the last 5 years. What are some of the biggest mindset or psychological shifts that SEO marketers need to account for in what they're doing? And so, because there's two sides of that, there's, how have the culture, how people's own psychology shifted, but how do we need to adapt SEO marketers? You covered that a little bit. I hope I'm not too confusing with that question.
Yeah, kind of. If I understand your question correctly, I think what it comes down to is not being stuck to old systems that might not work anymore, right? And going straight by the book. That's probably not needed anymore. Don't over-optimize keywords, for example. If you want to go into detail a little bit, that's one thing that I would say is irrelevant nowadays, right? Make sure there are good keywords included on the page here and there, that the engine, that the machine understands that it's a relevant piece of content for the audience. But besides that, don't get into it too much. Okay. It's really not necessary. These kind of things.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. It's funny that AI has a direct impact on SEO. We have to account for a new search pattern. But it also seems like the way people are using AI to answer questions and do research shifts the way people think in their heads. I think it has two big effects on the SEO world. Do you find that you are spending a lot of time with AI automations, AI processes to help your clients now with their SEO processes?
Me personally, not, to be honest. Okay. I mean, it's as simple as it has been. Relevance is key. So what I'm in charge of is finding topics that are both relevant to the audience, but also as transactional as possible, and then briefing these topics into the client's content roadmap.
Okay.
And that's what works in the long run.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. So let's talk a little bit about Pragmatic Business. And I like the name. I think it's very descriptive. I know you do a lot of work helping businesses, agencies, move past referral-based growth, for instance. Why do you think a lot of companies struggle with that particular for growth?
Yeah, it's a good question. So what we see regularly is that people who are freelancing specifically, that they reach a certain barrier and that they really struggle to become entrepreneurs just because these are two different things. Being a freelancer is essentially selling your time and receiving money in return, right? But then when it comes to building a business, there's so much more variables involved. You have to look at systemizing a fulfillment, first of all, right? Because you don't want to be the person doing all the work in your business. You want to work on the business, else it's not a structure that can grow independently. So that's probably one of the main things here.
Okay. Now let's talk a little bit about like productizing a service. So if you're working with agencies, what does that actually entail? Do you like, how do you take something that you're doing that maybe you're good at, you are an SEO marketer, how do you turn that into a product?
Yeah, often the deliverables attached to it.
Okay.
For example, if you're a writer, just as an example, because it's so easy to imagine, you might have to write a certain amount of articles per day or per week, right? And you can just take these deliverables, find someone to, fulfill them for you, and then get that systemized, right? And sell that as a subscription, as a recurring subscription, for example. And that's what it comes down to, in my opinion.
That makes sense. Do you have any examples of clients that have done that well, or even your own personal journey? Like, because it's hard. You talk about deliverables. A lot, there's a lot of custom work in there. There's a lot of custom requests in there. How have you seen that successfully implemented?
Yeah, really good question, Reed. A good example is Darcy Katmu, who has been on the show previously, I believe. Basically, when Darcy first approached us, Robert and I were running Pragmatic Business together. He approached us initially and we became a customer of his. He was essentially doing link building for us manually himself. And then the both of us asked him if he had any other ambitions, in order to maybe build an agency, not be the person doing the fulfillment anymore. And it turns out that we literally hit a pain point there. Darcy was not really satisfied with his situation back then. He was a very ambitious person, always thinking outside the box and always eager to grow. Yeah. So we ended up building Repulinks together.
Awesome.
Robert and I were the consultant in there. Darcy was in charge of the fulfillment, obviously the PR expert, and without him, that would have not been possible. So we essentially tried to look at all the customer requests that he had coming in at first and then try to simplify them, put them into patterns and see what kind of requests are coming in more frequently. It turned out that most of the clients requesting his service, those were people looking for link building, right? Link building wasn't always clear beforehand because he did all sorts of things.
Yeah.
But yeah, link building, that's what it comes down to. So we developed packages and then started selling them to these clients and looked at ways to systemize the fulfillment and get that sorted.
Yeah.
And the rest is history. Since then, Darcy has been doing incredibly well. His company has, I believe, tripled. He's on a good path to success, very satisfied as well. Yeah. And I enjoy working with him, and I hope he does too. I think so, at least. So, it's been a great project.
Awesome. Well, this will turn into a testimonial for Repulinks because I am also a client, and I became a client after he came on the podcast, and he does tremendous work. I've been so happy with that. And that, in particular, like making that deliverable very clear was, I think in his field is quite challenging because it involves a lot of pitching and waiting for acceptance, but that's a great example. Now I know you also, a part of what you do at Pragmatic Business, you have your open network meetings, and you're able to generate a lot of volume actually in collaborative sales. What inspired you to start that networking group, and how have you been so effective in like transactional networking?
Yeah, it's a really, really good question again. So basically, started with an idea that Robert and I had. And we asked ourselves, okay, what could be a good lead channel for Pragmatic Business? I think that was the initial thought, right? So we were looking at options and, the ways to do it. You can start running ads, you can start doing cold outreach, etc. But I think in order to become relevant, nowadays especially, what you got to do is provide value actually up first in order to be top of mind within your audience. And I think the network meeting is one way to do that. So we are bringing like-minded professionals together who then, meet, collaborate, and synergies build, and, businesses form. And that has been incredibly valuable for the people attending these meetings. In fact, I believe almost 6 figures in transaction volume has happened. So business is actually happening there. And obviously, people coming to these meetings, getting something in return. If they're looking for growth consultants, they know where to find them.
Yeah, that's amazing. Now, you're doing so many things and you have so many projects going. How do you maintain the energy and motivation to keep all of these, your whole portfolio running?
Yeah, I think that is probably some ADHD or other disease I might have. It's just my personality. I get bored with things easily, and I like to switch between tasks. That's just how my brain works. I have no idea why that is. I've not been to a psychologist. Maybe it has something to do with ADHD. Maybe it's some other reason. But that's just me. That's just how I work. And that's what excites me on a daily basis.
Well, that's
so also, if you look at my portfolio, if you look at my LinkedIn, it's not even complete. I do all sorts of things, to be honest. There are a few things that I specialize in. Those are my bread and butter tasks, right? The things I earn my income with. But then besides that, I have various other projects going on. Also hosting a podcast myself, co-hosting actually, quite a successful one. So it really varies, but that's what keeps my day exciting.
That's fantastic. Okay, couple final questions. If you had to delete all of the marketing tools you use, like software, etc., what is one that you could only keep one? What would you keep?
Oh, that's a good question. Oh,
I won't hold you to it.
Possibly Slack, just because the communication within the team is super important, and that's just the easiest way to get in touch with people. But if Slack is there, then I would probably look at SEO software, Ahrefs, for example. Okay. That's my go-to tool there, and obviously needed to provide high-level consulting, what I currently do as well, and without it wouldn't be possible.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's good. Now, but your last question: what do you see in the next year, 2026? We're nearing the end of 2025. What do you think 2026 is going to be like for yourself and for Pragmatic Business? Do you have plans? Do you have any predictions?
Hopefully, incredibly successful. That's all I'm going to say. We're very ambitious people, both Robert and I, and also, I'm super ambitious with the projects that I run personally. So we do want to double or triple possibly our business. That's what we're looking at. And regarding the networking event, it'd be great to scale that to maybe 1, 2, 3 million in transaction volume that has happened between the participants by mid next year. I think that's realistic as well.
That's fantastic.
Because we just started tracking that figure. And honestly, I was surprised myself. And I'm pretty sure that a lot of the revenue that's being generated isn't reported back to us as well.
Yeah.
Because that's something that we will always stumble upon. People doing business with each other and not telling us. Not ideal, because we obviously want to know how effective the event was in order to make sure only high quality people attend and to increase the value for everyone.
That's fantastic. Well, I am really impressed by your journey and where you are and the things that you are able to do. Your energy is quite inspiring. So thank you so much for joining us and sharing some wisdom, and I think just kind of inspiring us, that there are things that can be learned, adventures that we can have and still thrive. So thank you so much for joining us, Jan.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks a lot for having me, Reed. It's been a pleasure. I'm going to be listening to this episode. Yeah, I'm excited about it.
Great. Well, thanks so much.
Awesome. Thanks.
Want to stay ahead of what's actually working in marketing right now? Head over to MarketSurge.io and see how we're helping businesses grow smarter, faster, and louder. That's MarketSurge.io, because your next breakthrough shouldn't be a guess.